Hello and welcome to What's New Today. This is a kids and family podcast about current events shaping our world. This is Sangeeta, your host from India, and in every episode, which comes out on Mondays and Fridays, I'm joined by a curious child from anywhere in the world, and together we discuss a very interesting news story, which could be from politics, sports, entertainment, or like in today's episode where we discuss the recently introduced inspiring women series of Barbie dolls from the company Mattel. And let me ask my young co-host to now introduce herself.
Hello everyone, I'm Anya Chaturvedi, a student of class 10th of Delhi Public School, County Road, Nagpur.
Anya, can you tell us about some of your favorite hobbies?
Two things which I absolutely love doing are dancing and writing poems. I feel I can express myself in the best way when I'm dancing or writing down.
Writing down something. Okay, so you write poetry in which languages?
English.
So if you had to write poems, what kind of topics do you really enjoy writing about?
I wrote a poem during the lockdown. It's called Purple. Oh, purple, you astound me. How mysterious and rare. The royalty and pride you have could not be seen elsewhere.
Wow, this is a very gentle and a nice poem. I thought sitting at home in lockdown, you would have been very upset and frustrated. So coming to today's topic about Barbie's Inspiring Women series, a new series of dolls that the company Mattel had released. I think they started the series 4-5 years ago. Why do you think the company Mattel even introduced a different kind of series of dolls compared to, what Barbie dolls earlier looked like?
Barbie surveyed around 8,000 mothers and found out that 86% of them were worried about what kind of role models their daughters were exposed to. And that is why they took a step to launch this Barbie Inspiring Women series with the hashtag More Role Models on International Women's Day.
Oh, wow. And this was in 2018, right? So they released the first one. So have you played with Barbie dolls yourself as a child?
I had roughly around 4 or 5 dolls and I was completely obsessed with them. I would decorate the Barbie house and everything. I remember 2 of my dolls being sisters and going shopping and buying clothes.
So your plays revolved around what you thought two sisters would do in daily life. Like you never thought the two sisters would sort of go for a run and play soccer in the neighborhood park. So what did you think if you had two Barbie dolls who were dressed like cricket players or soccer players? Would that have changed the way you started building stories in your head?
It would have. They're playing together. They are studying. They have a profession and occupation.
Not just shopping when they have the time. How about we play a very short game? I'll give you the names of 3 professions. Tell me the names of people who come to your mind when you think of this profession. The first is tennis.
Tanya Mirza, Maria Sharapova.
I'm glad the first 2 names that popped at the top of your head were that of women. All right. The second one, actors.
Alia Bhatt, Anne Hathaway.
You're very biased towards today's topic, but I'm glad about the bias. You did not think of Ranbir Kapoor or any other male actor. The last profession, mathematics, a mathematician.
I can think of Aryabhatta.
Wow, nice.
And Euclid.
Ancient Greek and Indian mathematicians coming to your mind. Oh, nice. Awesome. I know you've done a lot of reading about why Mattel decided to launch this Inspiring Women series. What kind of women have they chosen as role models for each of these Barbie dolls?
The new Inspiring Women series is all about real-life role models like Jane Goodall or Ashley Graham, Amelia Earhart.
So who is Amelia Earhart? Do you want to talk about her?
Amelia Earhart was the first aviator to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, the first female aviator.
Wow. Okay, so this Barbie will now look like somebody who's sitting in the cockpit of an aeroplane and flying one.
Yes.
I think the most recent one that Mattel has released is the one that resembles Jane Goodall. Do you want to talk about who is Jane Goodall?
Jane Goodall began her career as a primatologist, and she has worked a lot with gorillas, especially. A primatologist is a person who studies primates. A primate is an animal, a monkey-like animal that we evolved from.
So the apes, gorillas, chimpanzees, all of these are
Yes.
primates.
Now, ever since Jane Goodall was a child, she loved playing with stuffed animals, especially the chimpanzee. Her mother used to get her dolls, but she refused. She loved her stuffed animals. One thing interesting about Jane Goodall is that when Jane Goodall began her career, she had not gone to university yet, and she had been fascinated to study about animals. So she went to Africa and applied as a researcher there. So her boss there, a man named Louis Leakey, believed that Jane Goodall would be a really good person for the job as she was very patient.
Yeah, that's true, because I've read somewhere that Jane Goodall had to spend nearly 3 months before even the first chimpanzee, the group of chimpanzees that she was observing, even the first chimpanzee even allowed herself to, come anywhere near her. So it takes about 4 months for any animal to trust you out in the wild. So I'm sure she would have needed a lot of patience. I can't imagine spending 3 months trying to convince a dog or a cat that I'll be a good friend and I won't harm them. So yeah,
I agree with you, ma'am. And she was so fascinated and so passionate about researching that she did it. In fact, the first chimpanzee that trusted her is named David Graybird.
So Mattel, when they released a doll that resembles Jane Goodall, has also released a tiny little chimpanzee next to her.
Yes, and we usually see that, Mattel with their Barbie dolls, they have heels and they have their combs and they have their brushes and makeup and purses. But now we have a chimpanzee, the Jane Goodall.
So that's inspiring you to become a scientist, primatologist, observer of animals.
Yes.
Who are the other women who you find very inspirational as role models?
Ashley Graham, she is a model and a body activist. We have these beauty standards which she broke.
So how is she different from the established role models that we have as fashion icons?
She is an oversized model. Ashley Graham is an oversized model and she's doing top tier fashion modeling. It's not
so
like
you're saying for a lot of girls who usually think that being very thin is important to be a successful supermodel, she's defied all those odds. So we just discussed how Mattel has introduced a new series of dolls which just don't look pretty and carry fancy purses, but also represent girls who have pursued a certain profession, which could be a scientist or an astronaut or a surgeon or a mathematician. Anya, if you had to go and tell your friends about one or two things that you really loved about today's story, what would those be?
Well, the first would be that a person's intelligence, their personality should be valued more than just their physical appearance. And also that it is important to choose our role models properly and wisely, because whatever we see, whatever we believe is who we become.
Wow, I love those lines. Whatever we believe is who we become is a great way to end today's episode, and which leads us to the next interesting part of this episode, which is
quiz time.
Question 1. Which is the company that makes Barbie dolls?
It's Mattel.
Question 2. What is the name of the chimpanzee that Jane Goodall befriended in her early days as a researcher in Africa?
David Graybird.
And question 3. Is a mouse a primate?
No, it's not. A primate is an animal that we humans evolved from, like chimpanzees, monkeys, apes.
It was a real pleasure talking to you, Anya, about this topic. But before I let you go, would you like to recommend any one podcast episode on this channel that you really enjoyed listening?
I loved listening to episode 64, which is about the NASA's Artemis mission.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What I loved was that a child, a 7-year-old boy, Advik, he spoke very confidently and he had such amazing expressions and modulations.
When do you listen to podcasts?
I usually listen to them at night or in the evening when I usually have my headphones on.
So yeah, bedtime listening is something that we find very common amongst our listeners. That brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed this conversation between Anya and I and would like to listen to more of these episodes on this channel, please do click the follow or subscribe button and leave us a rating and review. The next time we release a new episode, you will be alerted on your phone.
Thanks for listening.